The Central Asian Report is a program about the ongoing geopolitical trends and the panorama of the present-day realities in Central Asia.
Politics, economics and culture, events, trends and people, all this on one territory. Hello, you're watching the Central Asian Report in today's program. New focus on social partnerships, NGOs as an additional resource for the regional economy. 20 years later, Kazakhstan completes talks on entrance into the World Trade Organization. Zeros and ones on the screen, Kyrgyzstan is preparing to transition to the digital broadcasting format. Olympic medalist Denis Ten in our story, Salem, Almaty. NGOs are said to represent an informal third sector. This is due to the wide sphere of their activities and the large number of such organizations. In Central Asia, the largest number of NGOs are registered in Kazakhstan, 27,000, and in Kyrgyzstan, around 10,000. However, only 10 to 15% of these organizations are actually doing something. How to channel the efforts of NGOs for the greater benefit of society? Our correspondent brings us the story. Today, non-governmental organizations can contribute not only to sports, cultural and social spheres of life, but can also affect the economy of the country. In this aspect, the interaction of NGOs and governments in the countries of the Central Asian region is taking on new tones. If we look at NGOs not only as a social force, but as an economic actor, an economic asset. What's more, there are truly successful examples of cooperation of NGOs and governments in Central Asia. For example, the project of a social association, Sino, from Tajikistan, which improved the infrastructure of an entire town with the help of local authorities. This was recognized in Central Asia with the award Social Partnership Prize. I'm confident that thanks to the recognition of our social partnership, its impact will be even greater. Their colleagues from Kazakhstan were awarded a similar prize. Public Association Bereke facilitates the work of district NGOs in the South Kazakhstan region. One of our tasks is to attract business entities. Perhaps I have to mention that small rural businesses were involved in 90 of the mini projects. Our job is to make cooperation regular, constant. International practice shows that it is beneficial when cooperation between NGOs and businesses becomes more constant. A stimulus package is offered to promote this. It is preferential when all this is done out in the open, using economic forces, and that it would be officially recognized and preferably with some tax incentives. This way, the triad of NGO, government, business sector will start working at full capacity, having an economic impact in the region. The 20-year journey of Kazakhstan's accession to the WTO is almost over. For the Republic, membership in the WTO symbolizes a new stage of economic and trade development. Many events mark the reaching of this stage: difficulties of the transition period, expansion of the consumer market, experience of working in a competitive environment. Our next story brings the details of the future prospects. Kazakhstan began talks on accession to the WTO in the distant 1996. 20 years later, much has changed. Literally before our eyes, the unipolar paradigm was replaced by the formation of a number of centers of political and economic influence. What's more, all this is happening at the backdrop of the worsening situation of the global economy. In such tough conditions, it was announced that by the end of this year, Kazakhstan will become the 162nd member of the WTO. By the way, the Secretariat of the WTO acknowledged that these talks were the most cumbersome throughout the whole history of the organization. The president explained this by the fact that Kazakhstan was actively defending its own interests.
Мы согласовали позиции по самым чувствительным для нашей экономики вопросам.
We have reached agreements on issues that are the most pressing for our economy. Among them is support of the agricultural industry. It was precisely on this issue that the talks were the most challenging, because it was demanded of us to lower our subsidies, but we stood our ground.
Субсидии сельскому хозяйству. Но мы отстояли свои позиции.
Agriculture is one of the priority sectors of Kazakhstan's economy. Economic and social aspects are tightly interwoven into the industry. That is why it was precisely on this issue that all the attention of the participants of talks from Kazakhstan's side was focused. As a result, they sealed the right to provide state support to the agri-industry in the amount of 8.5% of the gross value of agricultural products. Such conditions for the agricultural sector during the accession to the WTO, aside from Kazakhstan, were granted only to China. Experts believe that from the moment that Kazakhstan enters the WTO, it will be the turn of a new page for the country in terms of expansion of trade relations and development of the national economy.
I think WTO is actually good for the economies, for members who join, especially for countries like Kazakhstan, who are looking into integrating into the world economy, who are trying to develop to diversify their economy and trying to develop new products and find new markets for their products.
At the same time, while opening up trade borders and removing barriers, Kazakhstan not only gains advantages, but also accepts some risks. According to some experts from Kazakhstan, in order to round off some rough corners, the remaining time has to be devoted to the active harmonization of the given realities and the WTO rules. It is necessary to study the experience of other countries, members of the World Trade Organization. For example, Russia managed to agree on introducing a provision in the agreement with the WTO, which allows to give preferences to producers that are fulfilling the orders of the public or quasi-public sector, under the conditions that these products are procured for their own needs and not for commercial purposes. The crisis has already shown that the only effective measure which the government can implement is government procurement. From the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union, Kazakhstan will become the fourth member of the WTO, after Kyrgyzstan, Armenia and Russia. And from this perspective, this will level the playing field of the integration members. In addition, this will give Kazakhstan new opportunities that will be opening up throughout the course of passing through the transition stage.
Я всегда предупреждал.
I have always warned that with the advantages of entering this organization, competition becomes greater. All the producers have to strive towards international levels. In 2015, Kyrgyzstan is preparing to enter a new era of digital television. Is the country ready for the digital transformation of the blue screen? How will the country's television landscape change? Our correspondent in Bishkek brings us the details and the analysis. Digital television is no longer a rarity, but a norm. The progressive West and its progressive neighbors, such as Kazakhstan, have been navigating the broadcasting space through digitization of images and transmission of a more dense flow of information. Kyrgyzstan is taking the first steps, but in our heady technological era, development is moving ahead in strident leaps. Around 2 years ago, only one pilot project was launched in the country. Residents of the Batkensk region in the south of the country were the first to see for themselves the advantages of digital broadcasting. Within the framework of realization of the program on transitioning to digital television broadcasting, overall 300 million soms were allocated from the Republican budget. Because of the challenging landscape, mountains occupied 95% of the territory of Kyrgyzstan, various ingenious solutions had to be thought of in order to set up antennas in hard-to-reach places. But all efforts were not in vain. With analog broadcasting, the further we are away from the signal source, the worse is the image. Thanks to digital technologies, the density of the signal flow is substantially higher. This means that instead of the limited number of channels, it will be possible to rebroadcast up to 10 times that amount. They will be divided by packages, or as they are currently called, multiplexes. There is a free package of channels, and the viewers will just have to buy the set-top box, which today costs from 1,500 to 5,000 soms, and buy a quality antenna. Transition to digital broadcasting has given an impulse for improvement to broadcasters as well. Aside from technical refurbishment of transmitting equipment, television and audio recording devices, funds were allocated from the state budget for the creation of locally produced programs. For these aims, for the first time, funds were allocated from the state budget, and a government procurement offer was made for production of content. It is interesting that the second main actor in the realization of the project on the launch of digital television, along with the Ministry of Transport and Communications, is the Ministry of Culture, Information and Tourism. This body will strive to have educational and historical programs and the overall volume of television content. In other words, universal human values and modern methods. A medalist of leading world competitions in figure skating, ambassador of the Olympics 2022 bid committee, and a person who has many friends and a lot of energy. All this is about Denis Ten, the star of Kazakhstan's sport. Our shooting crew found a wonderful reason in order to tell Central Asia about the new and bright moments of Denis's life. A silver medalist of the World Championship in London, a bronze medal in Shanghai, gold in the Four Continents Championship, and of course the first ever Olympic medal in figure skating in the country's history. All this is Denis Ten, the pride of Kazakhstan's sport. Yet at some point in time, Denis did karate, played tennis, attended swimming lessons, and even sang in a choir. However, despite successes in singing, the fate guided Denis to the skating rink, where he was once and for all captivated by the sport. And it is obvious that listening to his heart was the right choice. Figure skating gave me what I think none of the other activities could. This is truly a unique and interesting sport. I receive great joy from doing what I do, and now I'm trying to share this with people by conducting seminars and ice shows. Fixated looks, upright back postures. All these figure skaters now have hope. Everything is possible. It is possible to win medals, represent one's country on a world-class level. But all this in the future as a result of a lot of hard work and a boundless love for figure skating. I see that there is really a revival of some sort of a tradition of figure skating here, by seeing the number of those interested this year and last year. To skate, practice in the Medeo, all these public skating sessions in the arena, they're always crowded. This is only a joy to see. We just have to take the example of overcrowded audience halls during the ice shows organized by the initiative of the Kazakhstani skater. And this is not surprising. The project Denis Ten and Friends does not have equivalents on the territory of the entire Central Asia. Olympic champions, winners of world competitions, famous athletes have been coming to Kazakhstan for 3 years already, putting on Kazakh national costumes and dancing on ice to Turkish motifs. They already love Kazakhstan, and they really love Denis. I think that he will become a world champion. His heart, he loves everyone. Today, Denis continues to train for the future competitions, just as always without giving himself too much time to rest, but with a different outlook.
Каждый человек меняется с годами, да. Мы растем, мы обретаем новый опыт, новые знания.
Every person changes with age. We grow and gain new experiences, new knowledge. And I'm not an exception. Each year I discover myself. Looking back at 2013 and 2014, I was very tough on myself. And for example, in order to prepare for the Olympics, I completely dedicated myself to figure skating. There was nothing else in my life. Today, of course, I have a more global vision.
В моей жизни не было ничего больше. Сейчас, конечно же, у меня более глобальное видение всего.
A global vision of his life's purpose, a vision of his leading role, towards which many will strive and be inspired by. Help in and outside of sports, concentration in the moment, an opportunity to take a deep breath in order to enjoy what's been accomplished and move further. Well, we hope that ahead are only greater achievements. The most important is not to stop, and Denis has no intention of doing that. You are watching the Central Asian Report. Until next time on Kazakh TV.